Hello and welcome to today's edition of the Danielle Daily Show. I am Danielle Watson. Today's topic is a little bit heavier than what I normally cover, and until recently the tagline of the show was that each and every weekday you'd be able to find something positive, something inspiring, or something fun. And as I was going through the final processes of putting together all of the things for the Danielle Daily Show, I realized that I really wanted to change that tagline, that I wanted to present you with something that was positive, inspiring, or powerful. So that's what you can count on from me here in season 2 of the Danielle Daily Show. Something will be here for you every single weekday that is positive, inspiring, or powerful, unless it's a holiday, which it's a reminder that Monday is a holiday. So we'll have the show tomorrow and then I'll be back on Tuesday. So today's topic is grief, and how long is it okay to grieve? And this is coming up in my life at a very interesting time because I have just come through a process of very deep grief, and now it seems like grief is hitting people all around me. Left and right, people that I love are suddenly being thrown into grief. And whether that is because the death of a family member, because the loss of a relationship, because of a change in job, because of some life change that happened that was unexpected or unwanted, there are so many people around me who are grieving, and I feel like many of them are looking to me to have some sort of deep words of wisdom about grief to help them in that immediate pain of grief. And you know, unfortunately, when grief first hits, there's just nothing for it. That's the sad truth. I'm so sorry. I wish that my experience had taught me something that I could share with you, that when you are suddenly hit with something that causes you grief, that I could give you this magical formula or words of wisdom or something that would comfort you in the first stage of grief. And from my experience and from what I've seen, when grief first hits, there's just nothing for it. You just have to allow yourself to feel what you feel and recognize that there will be better days ahead, but right now it just kind of sucks and it just kind of hurts. And I'm so sorry if you are somebody who is going through grief right now. It's not fun. And like I said, in the beginning stages, there's really nothing for it. I so wish that that was not the case. I wish I had anything in the world. If I could give you a hug, if I could give you some wise words, if I could recommend a book to you, if I could send you someplace in the world to some guru, I would. But when grief first hits, there's nothing for it. We just have to be with it. And so, you know, how long is it okay for you to feel that way? How long is it okay for you to feel in that grieving place? And what I wanted to share here today is however long you dang well please. So when you are hit with something, whether it's the death of a family member or a loved one, whether it is a change in relationship, whether it's a disappointment, I know that in this country, in the US, there are many people who are still grieving because of just the change in our leadership here, that what they're feeling is grief. Grief comes in so many forms for so many reasons. It can be because something that we always thought we'd do is no longer possible. It can be because someone we love, say a child, is moving out and moving on to the next stage of life. Grief can come at us from so many different directions, and it's not something we really talk about a whole lot in this culture, and it's not something that I necessarily consider myself an expert on or want to spend a lot of time dwelling on, but I feel like there needs to be a little bit of conversation about the fact that we try to push grief away and we try to not talk about it so that we don't have to address it. And what I want to say is that when you're feeling in those first stages of grief, you have to feel them. How long are you allowed to feel them? How long is it okay for you to feel them? As long as you dang well please. But the message I want to get across is when you are ready to feel something different, so when you decide, not when somebody else decides, not when everybody's sick of hearing about you being sad, but when you decide that you are ready to feel something else besides whatever feelings come up when you're grieving, whether it's anger, depression, sadness, whatever it is, allow yourself to feel those feelings as long as you want to. As long as you want to. And when you want to feel something else, when you want to feel happy, when you want to feel hopeful, when you want to feel like you're moving forward, that's the time when you use the kinds of resources that I offer you on the show day in and day out. Positivity practices, positive thinking, different ways to look at life, and of course the notes to self that I offer here each and every weekday. When you are first hit with grief, don't beat yourself up if you can't stay focused on a positivity practice. Don't beat yourself up if you get out of your routine. Don't beat yourself if you do things that you normally do, like maybe eat or not get enough rest or whatever it is. Just let it be what it is. And then when you're ready for a different experience, that's when I want you to start using the resources. So it looks like Maida is here. Grieving is different for every person. Some quick, some very long. It actually seems to be better if you approach it and let it take its natural course. I am a horrible one because I just keep myself busy and I don't allow myself to grieve. That is not the way to do it. I learned the hard way. Maida, those are such words of wisdom. I hope that everybody who watches this broadcast will read them thoroughly, and everybody who watches the replay will listen back, because you're right. We have to let grief take its natural course. So many of us we're overachievers, and we're the kind of people, when things get hard, we just do more. And so when something like grieving comes up, it makes complete sense that we just stay busy and we don't allow ourselves to feel those feelings, because we know that they are going to cause us to go off track from how we want to operate. We don't want to operate in that space of grieving, and so we don't make room for it. And as Maida said, it's not the way to do it. And a lot of us learn the hard way trying to stuff that down, because it ends up sort of squirting out later in other areas of life, and it has some velocity behind it. That's when you end up, being the crazy lady at the store, like yelling at somebody for taking the last something off the shelf that you wanted to have, because you've suppressed feelings for so long that they've sort of fermented, and now they're bubbling out of you with some force. And if you can just take that time when grief first hits you and just say, I am going to allow these feelings to process, I'm going to allow these feelings to be felt, you will find that so much more quickly you will start to feel ready to move forward, rather than sort of pushing it down and sort of dragging it along, hoping that at some point, someday, you might enjoy seeing the sunrise again. Take the time to feel them when they come up, and just trust that if you do that, the process is going to go along faster for you. That doesn't mean it's going to be fast. Some of us grieve for a very long time. I know that I still have days where I'm still sad about the loss of my marriage. It doesn't mean that I haven't grieved. It doesn't mean I haven't processed it. But, little things will come up that make me sad for something that I lost. It doesn't mean I'm not hopeful about what's ahead of me. It doesn't mean I'm not happy with how my life is now. But we have to allow for those little feelings. So like I said, how long is it okay for you to grieve? As long as you darn well please. You have my permission. If anyone gives you any crap about that, you just tell them, Danielle said I'm allowed to feel this way as long as I want. And then remember, when you are ready, that's the time to pick up the positivity practice. That's the time to go out and go for a walk. That's the time when you go have lunch with a friend and just say, you know what? I'm still sad, but I don't want to talk about that today. Let's focus on what's going well in your life. Or that's the time when you go out and you get yourself a new fabulous shade of red lipstick, or a new necklace. Or that's the time when you pick up a book that encourages you. And I feel like really proud of myself today because I came up with this really clever idea. So I've been wanting to display the cover to my book on the video, but if I do, it's backwards. And so I had this really great idea, and I just, like I said, so proud of myself for thinking of this. I had this idea to take an image of the cover and flip it around backwards and then cut it out, and then I can hold it up to the screen. So we're gonna test it now to see if it works. So, yay, it works. So this is my ebook. This is Dear Self, I Love You, Keep Going. And this is my collection of inspiring notes that I wrote to myself over a year of grieving. So this is something, if you are grieving, I highly recommend. And it doesn't have to be the loss of a marriage. It doesn't have to be the loss of a loved one. We all have little disappointments that we go through in life. We all have things that don't turn out quite the way we wanted to. And what I want you guys to do is when you're ready to feel something different than grief or disappointment or whatever you're feeling, I want you to focus on the future. I want you to focus on what it is you want to create for yourself. And this book is such a great resource for doing that because it gives you a daily practice. That's what I'm often trying to reinforce for you here. A daily practice that you can use, that you can turn to over and over and over again, that's going to take you one step closer and closer to feeling the way you want to feel again, and thinking the way you want to think, and making the kind of decisions you want to make, and living the way that you want to live. And to accomplish that, it really takes having a dedicated practice and doing something over and over and over again, having some kind of positivity practice. For me, the positivity practice was writing the note to self. So find your positivity practice when you feel ready to stop grieving. So that is today's message. I do have today's note to self for you. I would love to read your comments on this, even if it's after the broadcast. I do read all of the comments. I do respond. I also post the replays on my YouTube channel, and I will go ahead and provide, after the broadcast is complete, the link to that. So are you ready to write down today's note to self? Okay, here it is. So it says, Dear Self, feel what you feel until you are ready to feel something else. I bet you're not that surprised because I kind of already said that, didn't I? Let me read it to you again. Dear Self, feel what you feel until you, emphasis on you, maybe put a little underline under that, until you are ready to feel something else. So like I said, you can grieve as long as you like. If anybody has a problem with it, you send them to me. I'll tell them how it is. I may be small, but I'm mighty. So that is today's Danielle Daily Show. I am Danielle Watson. I will see you back here again tomorrow at 3:00 p.m. Eastern. Yesterday, we talked about procrastination, and that was a question that came in from a viewer. I love it when you guys give me questions, when you give me things, real things that are going on in your life that you're grappling with, that I can address here on the show so that can help people all over the world. We have people watching in India. I think that's pretty exciting. So please, anything that comes up, you have a question, you want my take on it, let me know. You can private message me, you can leave it in the comments. And until tomorrow, I love you guys, and I'll see you then. Mwah. Bye.